As I said before, greed is mainly about numbers. For example, between these two guys, which one is more interesting? Me and my wife have a house, with 2 kids, a dog, a car, and a swimming pool. Me and my wife have 3 houses, 5 kids, 2 dogs, 7 cars, a swimming pool, a barbecue pit, and a boat. I would say the last guy, simply because of the numbers. His life would be more interesting. Man, just couldn't be civilized because they're together. The people always needed somebody smarter, quicker, stronger, braver than the rest of the people, to do tasks that they couldn't maybe do at all. And for their reward, from all the people they lived with, they became the first examples of greed, as kings. And from that point on, greed only shot straight up, as fast as the kings and the people they ruled allowed it to, through manipulation.
Your God says I must raise taxes, or he shall release famine on our land, the likes we've never seen before.
And they believe that, Father.
Yes, and this is how you will rule your throne. I am their mighty king, but they have to believe me, or off with their heads.
And our neighbors to the east, we have to rule them too. That is why we are going to war with them.
Yes, but they also have access to the ocean, which would give us more power, and more wealth, than I ever dreamed of, my son. So, by the time that you're king, you will be the wealthiest king history has ever known.
Thank you, Father.
And of course, you have to keep it in the family. You don't want to share that wealth with peasants that you don't know. But you will reward people for service, protection, advice, and above all, loyalty. This model stayed the same for centuries and thousands of years, until the game changed in the early 17th century. That's when the Dutch created the first joint stock corporation in the world. Now, you don't have to own land or any material to make money, you just need to own stock. As far as first leaders, outside of royalty, military, and the church, Robert Walpole was the first prime minister appointed by Charles I, because by that time kings like Charles lost the knowledge and the ability to run the government. That was in 1721. Then 70 years later, the world's first colony decided the people were tired of kings and royalty, and wanted to elect the first president ever in history. And in the exact same year, France started their revolution, which changes monarchy all over Europe. But currently to date we still have over 40 monarchies, and at least 5 of them actually control the country. They're called absolute monarchies. Now just think about that. Kings were supposed to be the leaders and the rulers, but nowadays it's prime ministers and presidents. So why do they still need kings? So, in 2023 most countries are ruled by prime ministers and presidents. If their country has a king or queen, then they're just there to keep the wealth and look good. And then you have the corporations. At first business started off with farmers, merchants, and or market dealers. But with corporations, anybody can own a piece of that business, and they'll share the profit and the loss, depending on their stake in the corporation. So, what do we greed for? Well, in order to survive and thrive, human beings need air, water, food, shelter, and clothing for warmth for cold climates. But what we now greed for the most is pure money first. Now this is the good part, because I'm gonna show you how greed for money created the infrastructure for our world. What's the most valuable thing to humans that they don't necessarily need for survival? People. Yes, technically we don't need each other to survive, but it does greatly improve our chances of survival. Money is also nothing without people to buy, to trade with it. In other words, Elon Musk is just an average human if he was trapped on a deserted island by himself. Even if he had 200 billion, which is near his net worth, he's still average. No one to trade with. Put people on that island, and they would still have to agree, because they are stuck on the island too, with Elon. That's the story of money. The ability to pay someone for services or work at a certain amount price, or trade with similar value. Money for work to pay people, so they can go out and buy items, all in a big economic cycle. Now where greed really sets in, is when you use people, without trading or paying them, as the material or property itself. This is called slavery. You treat them like animals, only paying for their maintenance and survival, making slavery the most profitable trade that you can think of, before the wealthy countries condemned it. All of this greed for money or simply wealth, creates the infrastructure that divides us. From kings and other royalty, with pretty much all the money, to merchants and business owners, with most of the money, to ordinary citizens with some of the money, all the way down to the slaves, with none of the money. So, greed is the infrastructure of our civilization. But how do we create and decide who are the kings, who has access to business, and who are the peasants and slaves? Through technology, of course. Technologically advanced societies always conquer more primitive societies. A SEAL Team 6 could easily take down 100 primitive warriors who fight with spears and stones. And that greed and technology, just like communication, spread only to our closest people first, then down through the multiple teams. Remember, gender, race, religion, country, etc. Now this is the part where everything breaks down. It starts with the meaning of life. I've thought about that question for a long time, and I came up with one answer.